Properties of parallel lines. You're going to need to know two rules today. The first one is called corresponding angles postulate. This postulate says if a transversal intersects two parallel lines, then corresponding angles are congruent. Without all the words, let's try that again. If L is parallel to M, then the corresponding angles are congruent. So if L is parallel to M, then angle 1, for example, and angle 5, because they're corresponding, are congruent. You can see angle 2 is congruent to angle 6. Here's angle 2, and it is congruent to angle 6. They're the same. If L is parallel to M, then we also know that angle 3 is parallel to angle 7. Here's angle 3, and the angle that corresponds with it is angle 7. Therefore, it has to be congruent. The last one, if angle 4 is right here, if L is parallel to M, then angle 4 and angle 8 have to be congruent because they're corresponding angles. Okay, here's the second rule that you need to know. It's called a theorem. Vertical angles theorem. This one is a little simpler. It says that vertical angles are congruent. So there's only 4 angles labeled here. So I have angle 1 is congruent to angle 4 because they're congruent, because they are vertical angles. Remember, vertical angles are opposite each other, but they share the same vertice. They share the same point in the middle, but they go in opposite directions. And when they are vertical angles, this theorem says that they have to be congruent. So angle 1 would equal the same as angle 4. They would be the same size. Angle 3 would also be the same amount of degrees as angle 2 because they are also vertical angles. So angle 2 is congruent to angle 3. Now check out this. Let's put it to some use. So I have this diagram up here. We know that line A and line B are parallel, and they have gone ahead and labeled each of these angles, angle 1, angle 2, angle 4. Instead of having angle 3, they've actually told us that angle 3 is 55 degrees. I also have angle 5, angle 6, angle 7, and angle 8 over here. Which angles would also be 55 degrees, and how do we know? Let's go ahead and go through each of those angles and see which ones we know. So first off, we know that angle 1 must also be 55 degrees. We know that because of vertical angles theorem. Vertical angles theorem says that if this angle is 55 degrees, its opposite angle, its vertical angle, must also be 55 degrees because they're congruent. We also know that angle 7 is going to be 55 degrees because angle 7 is a corresponding angle. Corresponding angles postulate says that corresponding angles to the other one, corresponding angles are congruent. We also know that angle 5 is going to be 55 degrees. If we know that angle 7 is 55 degrees, then we know that its opposite, its vertical angle, must be also 55 degrees. So we know that because of vertical angles theorem. We also know that angle 5 is 55 degrees because if we know that angle 1 was 55 degrees, well, corresponding to angle 1 is also angle 5. So you could also say that corresponding angles theorem is also the reason that we know that angle 5 is 55 degrees. So those are the two rules that you need to know and to be able to cite when we work with these things. You know corresponding angles postulate, and you know vertical angles theorem. Now you have some work to do with these. I know you can do it. Go get it.